Hello and welcome to another VanirQuick stream. We're back with some Overwatch today, and we've got FACEIT Season 9 EMEA Masters level competition here. It's technically the round 4 game, but this one's played very late. VanirQuick still have a couple to go, but currently sitting very high up in the standings, pushing for second place, already qualified for the playoffs, but obviously want to get that higher seed. My name's Sam. I'm joined by Skynet. How are you doing today?
Not doing too bad. Excited to see this game. Like you said, VanirQuick, playoffs is already in the bag quite comfortably, but you really want to get that second place so you have a easiest possible time in the bracket as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And currently their opposition today are Young and Beautiful, and Young and Beautiful are sitting right on the cusp of playoffs. They're sitting in that 8th spot, so qualification is currently in their hands, but it's not quite confirmed, and a win here would absolutely do that for them. So it's still a big game for Young and Beautiful, and it's still a big game for VanirQuick. They're currently on track to finish second if they win all their games out here, and they should be considered the favourites for the remainder. But if they lose one, if they drop a few maps, then good guys could pip them to that post. And the important thing here regarding the playoffs, of course, is those top 2 finishers, those people who play in the final, regardless of the winner, get to qualify to the relegation stage of OWCS. So getting that second seed, avoiding Team Peps, who look unbeatable right now, currently 45-0 and maps not dropping a single game across any of their series, it is a big deal. So for both teams, there's a lot to play for.
I mean, 45-0 is absolutely ridiculous. I won't lie, but we're gonna get a quick look at the rosters for Young and Beautiful. We got Brightside Zekin on the DPS, Santi on the tank with 1 and FNN on support. VanirQuick on the other side, Elias and Zorro on the DPS, Central Apan, tank, Tomex, and Kale on the support. For VanirQuick, Sweden lineup pretty much for VanirQuick.
Yeah.
Tomex the odd man out there, but second richest man in Estonia right there. But some names you'll definitely realize. Some names will definitely recognize. I should say. A lot of players representing their country. Santi starting tank for Spain on the other side. You know, Zorro, as well as representing Sweden as well. So lots of high quality in this FACEIT Masters round 4, bit delayed round 4 matchup.
It's the most Swedish I think I've seen VanirQuick, which is interesting in the Scandinavian roots. As we take a look at the map pool here, and I believe Young and Beautiful on that selection, and I don't mind this pool. I think it's relatively interesting as far as things go. We got the Suravasa, so Flashpoint's still a good mode in here. We got some standard picks, nearly also King's Row. There's a lot of safety, but I think there's some versatility too. I think the Antarctic rework is quite nice to watch. I think there's a good difference in the playstyles between Circuit, Dorado, Rialto. I think there's a lot to look forward to here as they go towards the Antarctic. How do you feel about this one?
I mean, Antarctic is always a bit of a interesting pick, to be honest, because with that map rework that it got, like, was it 2 seasons ago now? It did change the way the map is played just a little bit. It also made the map a little bit nicer to play on, to be honest, but it's surprising to see a team go for that over something like an Ilios, right? Because Ilios is so popular, right? Ilios it is probably the second most popular control map, only just behind Lijiang Tower, right? So Antarctic Peninsula, I'm excited to see what Young and Beautiful are going to bring to the table on this map, because I think if you pick Antarctic, you're going to have something in the locker. You're going to have something up your sleeve if you're going for a map like this.
That's kind of where I was sitting, right? This is an underdog team by current placements, and it's an important win for them if they can get that on the board. Although they should be feeling pretty comfortable with that playoff position, they do want to win this one out. And I think going to, for example, an Ilios, you're more looking towards a more known quantity. I feel like more often than not, the favourite will win an Ilios. But Antarctic Peninsula, you might have a little bit of a spanner to throw it into the cogs of the VanirQuick machine. And I like that as a selection. I think it's still yet to be fully figured out, this map. I think across the different sub-maps, like many control mode maps, there's versatility in the selections. And I think that can really play towards Young and Beautiful. But on VanirQuick's side, banning out that Sigma, potentially wanting to get away from that poke. And I think Sigma's super strong in the current meta, but I'm not sure about banning it on Peninsula.
I think Sigma can be played in like a variety of contexts, right? You can be a pokey character, so like when a lot of people think of Sigma, they think of like the Circuit Royale, right? They think of long range map where you can use those hyperspheres, do a ton of damage, has that shield that can block off a choke. But he can also play quite close up. He has the tools to defend himself. He has that grasp. He has the rock. He has those close range-ish tools. His hyperspheres do work at close range as well, so has that close range capability too. And we saw with Sig, or we have seen with Sig, that Mei getting picked, the Mizuki getting picked, that kind of brawly setup to the point where it just feels like you can deny a lot of what the other team is doing. So on Antarctic Peninsula, I feel like Sigma is definitely valid. It is. It wouldn't surprise me to see a team pick him, but I don't hate the ban, to be honest. I think it's reasonable. Antarctic Peninsula is maybe not a traditional, a map that'll maybe pop to your head if you think of Sigma, but I don't think it's necessarily bad to ban it.
His versatility works really well on a map with versatile modes in the sub-maps. That makes a lot of sense. And I think for VanirQuick, it might also just be we're just going to ban out a strong character that potentially we don't feel as strong on with our tank. I know Apan likes to play towards the likes of a Ramatra, for example, and I feel like maybe his Sigma gameplay is a little bit behind the curve of where it wants to be. So getting rid of one of those strong tanks is definitely a good option, as we still are awaiting the young and beautiful ban. And I think, again, we might just see another just sort of strong hero taken away from it. I think it's unlikely here to see maybe a Mitsuki ban, for example, because the Sigma's already been taken away, and a Reaper, yeah, just a decent, strong DPS. He's not the most meta in the world all the time, but can be good, can be useful in specific situations. Maybe the team is leaning towards a monkey in certain fight stages. So I think a sort of reasonable ban here as well.
Yeah, Reaper, he's not maybe as prevalent in the meta as he used to be, I suppose, when back in Season 1. But he's still definitely quite valid. He's still quite frustrating to play against. So I think these bans, I think they're reasonable all around. Maybe it's not the strongest characters in the entire game, although Sigma is quite strong right now. But I also think it's personal bans, right? It's bans that you genuinely just don't want to play against. And this map, it is quite close range. There is a lot of close-up angles where a character like Reaper can thrive. So even if it isn't going to necessarily be a counter matchup, or you're banning for if you want to play a specific character that Reaper is quite good into, I think it still works just because this map is pretty solid for Reaper, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very reasonable, as we will see shortly what the teams opt to go for. We might see that Winston, but maybe moving away from it. Unfortunately, I'm not quite sure who's representing who with the names for Young and Beautiful. It's a lot easier to follow on the VanirQuick side, as we do see a Mauga comp invested by Young and Beautiful with the Kiriko, the Lucio. I imagine Zekken will switch off that Symmetra, but maybe we'll stick onto it because she's certainly a viable pick. It's actually a Vendetta, so yeah, bright side here, going to switch off the Symmetra. We might see that Xion come back through. On the other side, mirroring the Mauga with a Wu Yang. It's very interesting to me, and the Kiriko is certainly a strong selection. Tracer and Xion is very close range, very high damage, very versatile, very mobile. It's slightly different looks here.
Yeah, I mean, the Mauga has been getting a lot of play, so I'm quite unsurprised to see it. The Vendetta pick from Zekken, though, I think is something to watch out for, right? Vendetta is not as broken as she was a while ago, but she is still somewhat viable, right? She's got that frontline presence. She's quite strong in the front line. Definitely playable, but Hu Yang has already taken a little bit of damage in the front.
Yeah, absolutely. Vendetta getting a bit of a quality of life buff recently as well, as Zoro takes down the opposing Xion, and Kale's going to follow up into Zekken, so it's looking like an early fight won out by VanirQuick. Hu Yang looking to turn things around, but I Love Driving Finn falling away allows the cleanup crew of Zoro to really end that fight in relatively quick fashion, a little bit ahead on those ultimates too, and just a solid opening duel for VanirQuick.
Yeah, and this Tracer Xion is so fast, right? So much explosiveness from the DPS of VanirQuick. You can say the same for Young and Beautiful, but Vendetta is simply slower than the Tracer, right? Vendetta has that more frontline pressure, which might not really go the way of Young and Beautiful. You really need to be winning that frontline trade, or bursting down, exploding the Wu Yang for VanirQuick if you're running that Vendetta.
Yeah, I feel like Wu Yang is the biggest target in terms of easy picks, but Tomex is taking down the opposing Kiriko, and Central Apan takes down the opposing Mauga. So trade for trade. Zekken's done nice work to find Tomex. It reduces the support, but Kale's going to shoot some water balls at FNN, and that is going to mark the end of this fight for Young and Beautiful too. And I feel like the Vendetta might not be the pick here. It feels like it's tough to find any value in this comp.
It's feeling a little bit difficult at the moment, but right now Zoro is just getting away with murder, right? You're already 90% pretty much to that Sasoriku spree, so very difficult for him to be handled at the moment, as well as Kale coming up on that Tidal Blast. I imagine we'll just see that Tidal Blast onto Elias or Zoro here, just explosive power onto the backline.
Yeah, here we go, invested, looking for a stun, but the Tracer can't find anything. Does get onto the Lucio, and then forced away, and Kale's going to finish off Brightside in the meantime, and staying alive is this Lucio, so both supports still up for Young and Beautiful. They had that Casino rush to if they want to, but Central Lapland's going to take down Zekken before it's chosen to do so. Just contesting on the point, sorry, is the Malma. Running away is Hu Yang, but down to the Wu Yang, and it feels a little bit dominant here from VanirQuick. They have a lot of ults now available. The rush wasn't invested because I think they lost a member too early for them to feel like comfortable in doing so, but now Tomex is up to his as well. Can be mirrored.
Yeah, one side of the fair so far for VanirQuick, and they can play forward here. They know they can. They know the percentages working against Young and Beautiful as Satsurica's Spree's unleashed dead early from Zoro.
It's lovely blocking by Zekken, who's going to win that fight, but it's a little bit too little too late as the rush comes through. Central Lapland's going to take big advantage of it, finding a three-piece with those miniguns, with that stomp, and Kale's going to close it out onto Brightside. That's 0.1 of Antarctic Peninsula. The way of VanirQuick, and not even a percentage ticked up by Young and Beautiful. Only one ult used the entire round.
I mean, yeah, one ult used, and pretty much one ult built, to be honest, by Young and Beautiful. The flex support for Young and Beautiful there was really the only one to get the ult online. FNN did get that beat at the end, but Santi, Brightside, and Zekken all didn't actually get their ults going. So, yeah, very one-sided affair for VanirQuick right there. Only 3 deaths for the team right there. Zoro is going on to the fray, and I think that could make sense on a point like this, right? There's a lot of vertical space, right, where you can take those cute little angles that not many other hit scans or any other hit scan can, to be honest, maybe outside of like Emre in his ult or something like that. So I like the Freya pick here from Zoro. I like the Soj switch as well from Brightside. I felt like that Tracer was just not really matching Elias at all, really. So this double flex, getting off the double flex can only work in Young and Beautiful's favor because it's only up from here.
Yeah, moving off that Shion is a great selection. The only fear here is Zekken might feel stronger on that Vendetta, but dropping down low early, can't find a pick. Central Lapland's just going to shoot in the face, and Zoro's actually found the first onto Zekken. So the 2-piece from the Freya is really going to mark the end of this fight before it's even begun. And that passive from Freya has allowed Zoro to build up the ultimate within a single fight. 2 kills, and I'm assuming a lot of damage has given the bowler. And yeah, Zekken's going to switch off the Vendetta 2 over to a Tracer, a more standard selection, maybe feeling like the off-meta pick is not the right pick, and I feel like pressures on Young and Beautiful here so big, with Zoro looking for that sideline. That's a lovely final to Tomex, who gets a little bit loose, a little bit of hubris taken over the Kiriko, and that's going to allow Young and Beautiful in here. They have to capitalize off this support advantage, but Zoro is looking to make it difficult. Can't quite land it onto the Lucio though, who gets away, and Kale's brought down by Brightside. So it's going to be finally a fight found, sorry, for Young and Beautiful, but it took a pick that they shouldn't really be allowed to get.
Yeah, Tomex maybe just getting a little bit overzealous right there. You have the bowler, just play for the bowler, you know what I mean? Zoro's built that in literally record time right there. But Zoro has gotten off the fray, going on to the Shion. Maybe that swap off the Vendetta makes the Freya much more hard to play, hard to navigate, because Tracer is quite good into that Freya. But the Kitsune is using My Heart drives already, and there's nothing to match it on the side of VanirQuick.
Yeah, building up that Kiriko faster than Tomex twice now. I believe that early pick allowed to do so, but Elias has traded onto 2. That's great Tracer gameplay, and unfortunately for Young and Beautiful, despite that Kiriko ultimate advantage, they're not going to win out this fight unless Zekken has something to say about it. It just leaves now, does the Tracer of Young and Beautiful, and with that, now VanirQuick have the ult advantage because Young and Beautiful couldn't capitalize on that one, and that feels like a fumble in a time they can't really afford to.
Yeah, it's not ideal at all for Young and Beautiful, right? If you use Kiriko, you really want to win it, right? Like, sounds a bit obvious, but it kind of is, right? If you use that Kiriko, you need to win. Now, maybe they can redeem themselves with Brightside's Overclock.
Yeah, here we go. It's a Sojourn on the sideline, but can't land any shots here. Finds the first. It was always bike takes down second. There's a beautiful headshot onto Kale, though. So looking alive here is Brightside. There's the rail into the second 2. Lovely work on from the Sojourn. Looking for the tank, looking for the Tracer. Gets the 180 shot. Forces the blink away, and Brightside for a 3. It's wonderful work here, but they still are behind. The rush has been invested by VQ, so they lose that big support ult, and it's just Elios's pulse remaining.
Yeah, and I like this Mizuki swap from Kale here, right? The Wu Yang into this comp, the D.Va can kind of eat the water orbs if needed, and it doesn't really do too much to us. It can chunk the armor down, but the Mizuki can chain the D.Va, can help set up, and that's great from Tomex. You got first pick a few fights ago, gets first pick this time round.
Yeah, interesting to use the beat though, looking to flip the fight despite, and Santi onto the first onto KO, that's the Mizuki down, and it's a support trader, and now Zekan onto Sori looking to find something essential happens, found Mr. Brightside in the meantime, and Elias wins the Tracer duel. The execution doesn't quite land onto FNM, but there's that headshot to follow up, and now it's just Santi backing away in that Diva, looking to get off the map in time, but the baby comes through, they invest the ultimate, looking to remake, potentially looking to find
No
a pick,
way.
but dies in the end. Zoro gets traded out by that bomb, but that feels like potentially a waste or a swap.
Honestly, I think it was Santi trying to, not swap it. I think it was just Santi trying to clutch out and stabilize so they can tempo kill Zoro right there, because they know that Zero has the Sasoriku spree right now. The Shion can come back to this final fight very quickly at the same time as the Diva and cause all kinds of problems, right? Not even including the pulse bomb of Elias.
Yeah, and here comes that spray. The defense matrix blocks out a lot of those bullets, though. Lovely work from the tank, who doesn't need to kill the Shion to null them out, but they have to touch the point. They have to touch the point. They get onto contest, and here comes the overclock from Brightside. IF drives, that's down early, and these shots need to land here. The Sojourn on the sideline can't quite find it before Central Lapland's taking down the opposing tank. That's a lovely shot onto Elias. Has to get back to the point, though, and surely this one's over.
Yeah, I don't think Brightside can kill 4 people on his own right there, but better round, better showing there from Young and Beautiful, but it isn't quite enough from Brightside and co right there. And honestly, I think on the first point in particular, it was a little bit of a compositional problem, right? Because you see them doing a little bit better when they swap off that double flex, in my opinion, particularly get swapping off that Vendetta, right? Even if Brightside maybe was the, star man for Young and Beautiful that round, or the clutching up in a lot of fights, doing a lot of the work, I think Zekan on the Tracer was able to help out and deny some of the value that Elias was getting a little bit more than he could on the Vendetta.
Yeah, but it's a little bit of a shame here for Young and Beautiful. We mentioned before the map came through that they might be looking to throw a wrench into the cogs and change something up, find something unique and different, a little bit off meta to throw VanirQuick off, and they opted for it and got absolutely wiped. So they moved towards a more meta style and still lost the point. So it feels a little bit like now we're going to be in a more stable game state where VanirQuick are just going to win. And for Young and Beautiful, they have to play on the meta, clearly, because their off-meta selection maybe just not quite fine-tuned enough, maybe not quite refined enough. So moving towards a more meta style, they just had to play a little bit more, I don't know, with one another, play a little bit better overall, find more value outside of just that Sojourn, and they're going to do so through a new map selection. And I feel like the Sojourn was a nice pick. You could play it towards a push, you could play it towards really anything, and there is that Runasapi coming through. I believe we might be seeing more Sojourn Tracer gameplay.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me from Young and Beautiful. The big way that they can get back into this game is through the bans, though, right? VanirQuick very clearly comfortable on that Morga composition, so you have kind of 2 routes you can go, right? You can ban out that Morga, which I think is a little bit less of a solution, because then Central Lapland just goes to the Ramatra and then you're back at square one, because fundamentally it's probably going to play kind of a similar way, maybe not as spam the guns at the tank, but the way the comp will play will probably be quite similar realistically. So if anything, I would maybe even look to something like a Kiriko ban or something. I feel like 1 versus Tomix, I felt like it was a bit of a non-factor, to be honest, the Kiriko differential. So depending on one's hero pool, I think you could get rid of the Kiriko, but they decide not to. They decide to ban the Bastion instead. Maybe they know something that I don't feel it, but I do like the idea of ban from VanirQuick. Clearly, the swap onto the Diva from Santi was her comfort swap there, and when the Morgan Mirror wasn't really going Young and Beautiful's way. So taking that away from them, forcing them into that either like that ground tank matchup where a tank that is traditionally pretty decent into Morga, that Diva, because of the defense matrix, taking that away from Santi allows VanirQuick to kind of force the way they want to play onto Young and Beautiful.
Yeah, and maybe the Bastion ban here is just Bastion's quite strong. Maybe we don't want to fight against a Cat Bastion on a map that's relatively open, even if that has been a nerf composition. It's still certainly viable in specific game states, and also protects that DPS ban. They want to keep potentially both of their options alive with that Sojourn, with that Tracer, and that makes a lot of sense to me. And I think on the other side, VQ have won this ban out, in my opinion. I think getting rid of that Diva is a huge boon for them, despite having the second ban. It feels like Young and Beautiful didn't quite know what to target, maybe a little bit more preventative than reactive, and I think we'll see if it pays dividends here as we move into Runasapi, but I fear for them based on how that first map went. They could show up here. It's a new mode, it's a new map, and they definitely have the player quality to do so, but it has to be better.
I think the problem with this ban, the Bastion ban, is that it doesn't really change the game, right?
Mhm.
When you're the underdog, you have to change the game, generally speaking. Well, at least in my opinion, right? You gotta throw a spanner in the works. You gotta be different. You gotta make the game. You sometimes gotta make the game like a little bit different, a little bit ugly. You know what I mean? Whether that is pulling out a comp that is a little bit, trashy, or doing something, or banning a character that is generally a staple in a lot of comps like that, Kiriko. If that map goes how it is, how I'm thinking on Young and Beautiful, of course they'll have a style, of course they'll have a way they want to play the game, but if your style isn't working or it is not going to work, which I think you can kind of tell based on how that first round went, if I'm being honest. Granted, that second round was quite close, but now that D.Va's gone from
Mm.
VanirQuick, I just see this map being a real uphill battle for Young and Beautiful, to be honest. No D.Va is into Maga when you lost the Maga mirror is
Mm.
just not ideal, and they still have the Kiriko, so it's not like you can even force them into playing like a different style. Of course, they could go to like a Lucio Moira with the Maga or something like that. And if you ban the Maga, there's a lot of options if
Mm.
you do ban the Kiriko, but I think the Bastion ban, I just don't think it'll do anything. If I'm
Yeah,
being honest, I really don't think it will serve Young and Beautiful well whatsoever. But looking at the comps,
that can't be
again, no
real.
surprises. Maga comp from VanirQuick, right?
We're not sticking on that Torbjorn, surely. Surely not. But yeah, I feel like a Malga ban could have been the way forward, right? If you're not going to ban out anything that VanirQuick have been running, then I don't really know why you're what the game plan is. It's the Freya from Zoro looking to build up a fast start once more as well, and Lucio Kiri on both sides is to be expected. It's a very solid backline, speedy, versatile, high healing potential, lots of utility in that duo of supports. And I mean, bright side on that Sojourn definitely looked lively in map 2 of Antarctic. So coming into the actual map 2, sorry, officially, of Arena Sappy, it could be the difference maker as we posture off to this left side with central A-Band shooting down onto the opposition looking for some burn. And that's a very low HP Reaper who gets the bubble, gets away, but that's one bubble forced out from the Zarya. And I believe not a lot of charge given. Apan healing with that cardiac and takes a bolt to the face does the Reaper. Once again, a bubble coming through, keeping them alive, and it's Zoro now off those awkward sight lines that Freya has so much high burst potential with his angles, but that's a lot of charge given to Zarya, who now poses a threat if they can get forward. The bot not moved massively, and once again, Zekken forced into that Wraith form, forced away from the fight. Can't get any angles going, can this Reaper? The high charge Zarya looking to put pressure on as it's Elias in the back line on that Tracer, looking to harass, looking to cause some issues, but can't quite find value. Can anyone here? It's now low HP on the Freya. The Zarya beam comes through and finds the first. There it is. There's Santi with the opener. That's big for Young and Beautiful. And look, nearly 100, just under 90, and there's the 100, and Brightside's found Tom X2, and that's going to be surely fight snowball. There's Zekken finally getting in as well. Once that damage is lowered a little bit, the Reaper can get up close and personal and blow up Central Appa and blow up Kale too, and that's lovely work from Young and Beautiful in that long drawn out fight.
Yeah, that was such a long fight, and at the very start of the fight, Young and Beautiful, that Zekken went in, got that bubble, had the Wraith form forced, and then VanirQuick, they really went aggressively, right? Central Appan stomped right in, and that forces so much from Tom X, right? So much care. And I don't think the cooldown trigger was enough of a trigger to go in, right? And now, Santi can take that high charge into the next fight, already quite high charged already.
Yeah, here comes that rush though, and here comes that railgun into Kale's face. That's the first found for the Sojourn, looking for a second, can't land on Elios, but Zekken onto Tomex will keep this fight in the favor of Young and Beautiful, who use that rush, use that Kitsune advantage to big effect here. Tomex still not built up to theirs, but I mean, at least we'll have that uncontested in the next, but the beat available, that Blossom available too, can get right inside that road of speed, and with the grab coming up as well, Central Appan on that Ramatcha, so far away from it too, switching off to a new tank. It feels like Young and Beautiful have the potential to really snowball this game. Here comes the Reaper off the sideline looking to TP in with a Death Blossom potentially. That bubble makes you available to do some really basic stuff. That was an interesting TP far away from the action, gets it safe, and here comes the grab, doesn't land onto anyone unfortunately. Actually, Kale gets connected in it. I didn't connect on that one. Lucio brought down by the right clicks of the Zarya. Santi finding one, looking for a second as well onto the Sojourn. The Caesar comes through, but now high charge, so much damage, and actually over aggressive, and the beat's too late. FNN can't save the tank, and that could turn the fight in the favor of VanirQuick, but Zekken looking to keep it alive, and Brightside with the overclock finds one, looking for two onto Central Appan, who's blocking away in the corner, and the rush has been invested, and that's a little bit of a waste for VanirQuick as they end up losing this fight, but perhaps seeing that tank down, they feel like they can win this out, and in the end, they just get blown up by the DPSs.
I mean, even though Santi does go down, even though FNN's beat was late, it's still a sound barrier on the side of Young and Beautiful, as well as Brightside popping that overclock. It is still quite dangerous, right? It's very, very dangerous to play into. And this Zarya from Santi is really, really showing up, in my opinion. She's doing a lot of work on this Zarya, which is great to see. Zarya currently, maybe not too crazy right now, but she's pretty good at the moment. But this Ram swap from Central Apan is going to cause some problems here.
Yeah, here we go. It's an aggressive beat. Nothing defensive about this play. Elias onto Brightside too is big damage potential lost for Young and Beautiful. But there's that Death Blossom. Headshots found. That barrier was perfectly placed by Central Lapan. Lovely heads-up play from the Ramatra, who can now follow up onto the Zarya. Low HP has to get that Nemesis form out and gets the cooldown just in time. Finn's going to win out that Lucio duel, but going to fall in the end as Elias gets the final blow. But that was a team effort. And finally, VanirQuick find themselves in this game 90 meters down, 82 net. And that is going to be a big push to make way as the forward spawn comes through for all of Young and Beautiful.
Yeah, not looking too great for VanirQuick, but still time left in the game, 5 minutes 50 left on the clock, and this overclock from Zoro could look to put in some work, chunks down Brightside, but no kill found just yet.
Yeah, it's a beautiful shot, but no follow-up. There's Elias, though, with that follow-up. Finds a final onto the Sojourn of Young and Beautiful. Now with that pulse bomb looking to posture onto the Lucio, too. Potentially blinks around the sideline. The Kiriko's TP'd forward, so that's one cooldown down, and making them more vulnerable. Here comes that rush. Here comes the beat. It's a big investment for Young and Beautiful. They have to win out this fight. And the Ramatra is stuck in the corner in the ultimate, blocking away, eating up so much of that damage. This kiting is wonderful, but here comes Santi. Here comes for FNN, and here comes Santi for 2. And despite the kite, Young and Beautiful win out this fight.
Yeah, good attempt from VanirQuick, and they use a lot of ults there as well. They use that Annihilation, they use that Overclock, they drop the Pulse Bomb as well. It's not what you want at all, especially when even if you win this next fight, you would still have another approximately, what, I can't do maths, 50 meters to go. It's really not what you want to see at all for VanirQuick, and Brightside dropping dangerously low quite early. Needs to be careful halfway through that Overclock, but the big ticket item this fight is that not Gravitic Flux, Graviton Surge from Santi. Gonna be able to look for it kind of in a similar spot as she did last time.
Yeah, it's really dangerous around those corners, and just investing onto the tank of Apan, who's going to block away, but spinning around. That rush comes through, and Elias finds Brightside first again. Once more, that Sojourn down to the Tracer, and Zoro's following up onto FNN, and this time, it's a lovely rush from VanirQuick. They get all the value they could possibly ask for because Young and Beautiful invested the double support in the previous fight. VanirQuick are able to win this one very cheaply. They don't have any follow-ups of their own, but baiting out that grab and winning it out with a Kitsune rush is exactly what VanirQuick wanted and needed. And Brightside's going to fall once more. Actually, that Suzu keeps them alive here, but the pressure's still high from the tank of Central Apan, holding down their sightline with those Ramatra shots.
It's not too bad for VanirQuick. You do use Kitsune for grab. It's honestly kind of even, I would say. But they are closer on ult, so they can tempo their ults a little bit quicker. Zoro has the overclock kill close on that beat, closer than FNN at least. Zekken could cause some problems with this Death Blossom, though. We're round a couple of corners here. Could look to get up close and personal. And this overclock, oh my goodness, I thought it was Kaiable, maybe not.
But there's a Death Blossom onto 2. Both supports down, and it's traded out by Zekken. You noted it at the start of the fight, and Zekken's proven you right, looking to push forward onto Central Apan's tank. That big target gives so much life steal to Zekken, but the armor does reduce some of that. Still alive, though, is Elias. Still alive is Central Apan. They have to back away, though, but it keeps VanirQuick in the fight. It keeps their ongoing combat. Young and Beautiful aren't super comfortable yet, and there are 3 ults available for VanirQuick, but on the other side, they have once more an uncontested rush. That beat will have to be invested, and then FNN will be close to his as well, so it feels like advantage Young and Beautiful. As we get into this one, the rush is invested, so is the Annihilation. The fight is true, the fight is forward, the beat comes around as well, comes alive, the double squat was invested, and that's traded out too. It's just long-winded. Here's the overclock on the sideline for Brightside, who's finally alive in a fight for the first time in a long time, but can't quite find any angles onto anyone. They're playing around this spot to perfection, hiding behind these cars and walls, and can't land that one, but it's Santi to find the first atomics in the end anyway, and Ramatra is so low HP. The pulse was lovely onto the Zarya, keeps the tanks traded, but this right click is going to be huge. As Zoro landing the first, and lands the second too. Brightside so low, but no Sojourns fall here, and that keeps, I think, posture alive for Young and Beautiful. Though playing this corner lovely, and it just means VanirQuick can't make any progression with time slowly ticking down. They have to get forwards, and it's Young and Beautiful to do so in the end of this fight as the teams start to back away.
Yeah, keeping the bot neutral there for Young and Beautiful is so ideal for them, because you have, again, a 50-meter lead. I know it this time, 50-meter lead. So you can hold on to that, and if you delay for even 30 seconds, it's so long. But that's a nice opening pick from Zoro onto Brightside. Now Young and Beautiful definitely just have to back up for the time being, but it's not too bad for them. They are coming up on a few ults there, coming up on that Graph, coming up on that Kitsune, 60% to that beat. Tomex is going to have that Kitsune before, Zoro will have that overclock before Brightside, but it just feels like a bit of deja vu, right? It's the same ults in the same fights in the same locations, but that's a
That's a big
nice pick from
start.
Zoro again.
Yeah, those disruptive shots coming through for 2. Both DPSs brought down in the meantime. It's Brightside making the return, but the high beam Zarya is putting pressure on as Elias gets headshot by Brightside, who's finally found some footing in this game, and solo HP essential Apan. Do we stay alive here? Kill for 2! That's huge from the Lucio, cleaning up, and now the Nemesis invested, so that Apan is able to push forward. That Suzu's still available for Tomex as well as a last-ditch survivable tool, and that's a clean win for VanirQuick in a seemingly messy duel. Brightside, who finally doesn't fall first, gets the first pick, and now falls down. And with the rush available for Tomex here, it could be a lovely opportunity to use it. It can be countered by Young and Beautiful, but the grab comes through and the rush available. There's Tomex down to Zekun. It's so much damage onto Apan too, and it's looking like it's over here. That's a lovely shot out from Brightside as well. The Sojourn finally getting into this game, and Young and Beautiful, when they needed to win a fight, do so beautifully.
I'm not sure who actually popped the Kitsune first. I don't know if it was Tomex or One right there, but I don't really like the Kitsune from Tomex unless it was to bait out the Kitsune from One. But I don't know, you're never going to live even if you Kitsune there. There's just no way. And Young and Beautiful are going to kite out. Zack and they get taken down, but there's 3 ults on the side of Young and Beautiful. There's 4 on the side of VanirQuick. Sure, there is a lot of advantage, but there is still 25 meters left in it, right? Even if Young and Beautiful lose this fight, unless it's the cleanest fight in the world, it's still rough for VanirQuick.
Yeah, it's lovely beat usage, keeping the team alive away from this overclock, and the other beat comes through from VanirQuick as well, so they're investing a lot, and that's a lovely shot onto Brightside, down in that Sojourn ultimate. Finding the shot is Zoro, looking for a second onto Lucio too, but here comes that Death Blossom, blown in the head by Zoro once more. The Sojourn is alive here, and it's not quite as clean as VanirQuick would like, but it is a one fight. It is the start of the snowball that they need, and Apan actually staggering these supports in beautiful fashion. Can they find the Lucio? No, backing away is FNN, and that's huge. Young and Beautiful, their support stays alive. A lack of a stagger onto Lucio, who can get back into this fight, but they need to recontest soon. The Tracer switch from Zekken allows that to come through, and here we are around the point, around the bot, but Zoro onto Brightside once more. The Sojourn falls first for Young and Beautiful. They're going to turn this in the end. It's so unfortunate for Young and Beautiful, who stayed ahead in this map for so long. VanirQuick just win one fight when they need to, and that's a brutal one.
Rule 4, Young and Beautiful right there, but a close one for VanirQuick, perhaps not as close as they'd like, and Zoro kind of bailing them out of trouble right there, right at the end, getting so many picks. It wasn't this fight specifically, but right at the end was going absolutely crazy on that Sojourn. The Sojourns are doing a lot right. But honestly, VanirQuick, it felt like at times, even though that final fight, it was very well played by them. The supports got staggered out. FNM did manage to live, but One just got so staggered out. Santi had to come back on the wrecking ball, and I think there was a pick onto someone before the fight even the last touch even really happened. It's not ideal at all, and FNM would have been stuck in that difficult position behind, which is just a dangerous spot if you are a main support, if you are that Lucio, right? You have that mobility, but if you're out in the open, you are going to get picked off, right, to 25 HP, especially when Zoro is on the other side. Just landing those shots with the railgun is so difficult for Young and Beautiful. But they do put up a better showing on that map. But I think, honestly, they really just had a good game there. I won't lie. They had very good individual moments. I think Santi was very standout on that Zarya, if I'm being honest. I think FNM played quite well on the Lucio as well. Zack, and of course on that Reaper did so much. It did feel like Brightside did kind of get closed down a little bit more of that map, but in doing so, it did feel like all the other members of Young and Beautiful really got a little bit more time to shine, so to speak. But the next map, Flashpoint, not next round, next mode, Flashpoint, next map, Suravasa. I think that's a decent pick by Young and Beautiful, right? The Runesapi kind of was going well for them, and that's quite a flat map, you know, I mean, it's the flattest push map. Suravasa, relatively flat map as well, kind of encourages that close quarters fighting. And that Zarya Reaper combo seemed to really work for them, to be honest. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, I do like that Symmetra ban. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Zarya ban here from VanirQuick. Wouldn't surprise me too much. And there it is, there's that Zarya ban taking that away from Santi. And honestly, I don't think there's many surprises there.
Talk to me a little bit about why you like this Symmetra ban.
Because I think Symmetra is quite popular with Ramatra, right?
Mm.
Symmetra is just a bit of a. I think the best way to describe Symmetra right now and the way she's played is like a cheat code kind of character, if that makes sense. Her teleport, it just feels like you can kind of go anywhere on the map and the other team can't really do much about it, and it's
Yeah.
always a variable that you have to consider, right? Even if they aren't playing the Mauga, it's still something quite good. It's also potentially somewhat of a read from Young and Beautiful. They know that Zarya is probably going to get banned, and now that D.Va's back in the mix, maybe you don't want to play against that kind of beam that Symmetra has. It's maybe a bit of a whatever counter, but it is still frustrating if you are on that D.Va, right? Especially on a map like this where maybe the Symmetra can kind of reach you from a lot of locations.
Yep.
So the Symmetra ban, I think it has multiple layers to it, and I think every layer does kind of work well for Young and Beautiful, but the Zarya ban is just strong, considering
Yeah.
how good Santi looked on that Zarya last map.
Yeah, this really calls out to me that they won't be playing. I mean, they weren't planning on playing towards Zarya, is my suspicion, because otherwise you'd. I think the Symmetra is a great call out if you want to play towards a D.Va, but not protecting the tank ban is potentially risky if they aren't able to switch up their comp away from potentially a D.Va into what is likely going to be a Mauga, but might end up being a Ramattra who worked quite well, and then you want maybe that Zarya available. So it's risky, but it could pay off if their D.Va comp looks very solid. I feel like right side here, either I can't quite diagnose what the issue was. Often first to fall in those fights, even ones that Young and Beautiful turned around and won. I can't quite figure out if it was Young and Beautiful not quite providing the Sojourn with enough support, or Brightside finding himself in too many off angles, perhaps early on with that single slide, forgetting about the fact that you don't have that second fullback option. So you're a bit more vulnerable if you invest that slide as a mobility tool to get to a place and not to escape from a dive. But VanirQuick did a great job shutting down the opposing Sojourn on that map of Runa Sapia, allowed them to win the fights they needed to push it in the end and win it in overtime. Get close enough, right? You're within 50 meters, you're then within 30, and then you just win the one fight and you've got the map in your hands despite feeling like you're on the back foot for a while. And I feel like sorry, I just blanked on their name so aggressively. For Young and Beautiful, they need to keep their entire team alive, which is a ridiculous thing to say in a vacuum, but they kept starting the fights on the back foot. They kept dropping a member early, and you can't really afford to do that against a team like VanirQuick.
Yeah, absolutely not. The way VanirQuick likes to play, the likes play from what I'll be able to glean from these two maps, right? They play so aggressively, right? So quick. They don't. It feels kind of relentless the way they want to play, right? Which can be risky at times because we saw that on Runasapi, right? It felt like they were getting caught. I remember that opening fight where that bubble and wraith were used. They went right in and it didn't even go their way because not everyone was there. Not everyone was ready to actually go. Elias, I remember in that first fight, I didn't even really see him get involved, to be honest. And through no fault of his own, really, the team just went too early. And that type of playstyle, it kind of encourages that kind of mentality, if that makes sense. So I think it works for and against VanirQuick, but like you say, if you really put a foot wrong, an obvious foot wrong, then it really is hard to survive versus a team that really wants to punish mistakes, really wants to be a punishing team to go against.
Yeah.
Just waiting on Santi just for a couple of minutes. Got the Zarya ban, so maybe they all know need to pull the D.Va back out of the pocket. But
Yeah.
I think Young and Beautiful, they really put on a good showing. They've gotten noticeably stronger from that last map from Antarctic Peninsula. Sorry, I completely forgot the name of the map there. They got noticeably stronger. So maybe logically speaking, they could get even better at this map and make it a Survivasa to remember for them.
I was gonna say I don't know who this person is. But I was gonna actually say before I saw that there's also the world in which we move towards a Sigma comp on this map. Flashpoint is such an interesting mode. I love this mode a lot. I think it's so cool because you're encouraged to play so many different styles, and I think because the point captures so quickly, you're encouraged to play a style that is mobile, so you can get back to the point if you've lost it, or you can win that fight early. You can play aggressive and pick up that point, right? But you're also encouraged to play something really defensive like a Sigma comp because the point captures fast. If you can win that first fight and then hold on to it for a second, you might even have that point entirely. So there's so much versatility that can be offered here, and I think Sigma could be a really nice adjustment. And I was going to say it for the side of Young and Beautiful. When you're banning out the Symmetra, Sigma doesn't really like Symmetra that much either because against Symmetra. So Sigma likes having a Symmetra, I think, because he's not the most mobile tank, but doesn't really like fighting against its Symmetra. That Kinetic Grasp can't prevent that damage. The Symmetra likes to feed us off that shield as well. So definitely an option they could go for, but Yeah, there it is. There is that Sigma. Okay, so I'm basically a genius. That's the Sigma Mizuki that you were talking about of before as well. On the other side, they're sticking to the Wu Yang, so that's interesting, but has high damage potential at the very least.
I think Wu Yang's a little bit. It feels weird to say underrated because I feel like people do rate Wu Yang, but like I feel
Hmm.
like all the talk goes to Kiriko, all the talk goes to Mizuki. People still talk about Lucio. I think Wu Yang maybe gets a little bit slept on. Maybe is the best
Hmm.
phrase because he still does so much damage, right? He is still
Yeah.
just a broken character. And speaking of so much damage, there's Zoro, but no Sigma for not VanirQuick. Sorry, Young and Beautiful as Santi is back on that diva.
Yeah, that's nice from both teams early doors, but it's going to be VanirQuick, who I believe are winning this out as the names are, I think, on the wrong side for this opening fight. But that's a nice find by one, trading out Kale, so support down, William down, and I think the cap might come through, but they are contesting still. That Diva able to fly up to height, goes to their health back instead. They do want to capture this point at some point, and they are going to opt to do so now. There comes the contest, and Zoro's looking for some bolts to get some damage, finds the high damage at the start of the fight, looking to continue on in good fashion, but now Young and Beautiful taking control of this point, just forcing some fights out from Central Lapan, and despite some opening engagements, it's looking a little bit slower. There's Zoro down though, I could be proven wrong, and Elios trades out bright side, so now we're back to even stead, and both teams here feeling a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit disjointed, and can't quite get into a foothold on this map so far. The Tracer Jewel is looking like it's going the way of Young and Beautiful. Zekken has that pulse bomb already as well, so that can be the fight flipper, but still finding Elias here looking to mark the opposition Tracer, but that's a lovely recall, gets back into the fight, high damage onto Diva. There's that Suzu invested, but actually it's a little bit too late. The D-Mech is found, and that's surely going to be fight one. It's a lovely pulse, but that is an even better chain, winning that trade out, and that's going to finally be fight the way of VanirQuick.
Yeah, I mean, VanirQuick are fortunate to win that fight because it was a major blunder from them at the start by not capping the point. This
Mm.
point could be over, to be honest, if they just sat on the point. Central Lapan dropped off to kind of contest lower, and then Zoro got off the point.
Oh,
Alex has been scouted out right there. How did they know? Check your corners. That's the lesson learned right there. Is Young and Beautiful able to walk in with that Kitsune?
yeah, it's incredible awareness there from Brightside and from Santi. There's the rock through, doesn't land on anything. That Susie makes him invulnerable, and it's a rush mirrored. It's going to be a massive advantage for Young and Beautiful in a 5v3. They're going to follow up with Brightside onto Tomex, and that's going to be a fight easily the way of Young and Beautiful, staggering out the last two as well. A little bit of a longer respawn time for those, and they are going to flip this point. So nearly 80%, just 79 for VanirQuick, but obviously a one-out fight, I think, for either team. It will be the end of this point.
Yeah, you can see how disciplined the Young and Beautiful are playing. The reason these fights are going on so long, like we talked about before, VanirQuick, they want to punish these mistakes. And Young and Beautiful, they want to obviously, you want to minimize the amount of mistakes you make, obviously, but against a team like this, you really, really want to. It's the reason these fights are so drawn out, because of how disciplined the Young and Beautiful have been playing right now. But VanirQuick, they have just been on the ball, right? And they're on the ball here. They have 3 ults ready to use, and I think we're going to be able to see one of them starting with the Flux.
Yeah, this Tracer duel going off on the sideline, but the Flux comes through. The Suzu does prevent a lot of that damage, but the Sanctuary on point gives them chance to contest, chance to try and flip as well. They're forcing Young and Beautiful onto the point, but the beat is going to come through for the engage. Here we go, high HP on lots of these targets, and the bombs available for the remake. Sigma gets that shield out in time, but now has no shield as a defensive tool, and Elias is going to go down to FNN. That's the Tracer down for VanirQuick, and that allows Zekken to have free reign on the back line. No one to mark him, and that's actually going to be Santi. She finds Tomex, right side, he finds Kale. And that's going to be first point for Young and Beautiful, and I think they just won out enough of those crucial duels, and most importantly, won out that first fight with those Kitsune rushes on either side, and that allowed them to take control of this point on a defensive stance into a more defensive comp of VanirQuick. Now with the Mei, they're going even more of a solid core.
Yeah, May will help stabilize the Sigma versus this Diva, right? Because it does feel like Central Lapan was getting a little bit run over. Had to block the Diva one with the shield there, and then the rest of Young and Beautiful were completely wise to it and just absolutely nuked Central Lapan flank here from Santi and Zekken right here, who does have the pulse bomb. No cryo for the May is a dangerous and easy target. No Suzu either.
Yeah, both big cooldowns. There's a stick onto someone. It's onto Mizuki. Kale down, and that's one of the targets who can't escape from it. And low HP now is Central Lapan, who only has one support to keep him alive, but is doing a good job of using his own self-sustain. There's the cry from the Mei, but Apan down, Zoro down. Easy fight here for Young and Beautiful. Lovely pulse from Zekken, and they are really the star of the show so far. Forcing Elias to swap off the Tracer because of the fact they were consistently losing that Tracer duel, or just feeling like they couldn't get value in. And also, you're right, provides a defensive tool for the Sigma, makes it easier to deal with the Diva, but I feel like a lot of the time they just felt like they were losing it out, and Zoro hasn't been able to find great value on the Sojourn so far.
Yeah, this Cassidy is able to limit a lot of what Young and Beautiful can do, but the early Kitsu from one right there is just going to be matched and kind of kited by VanirQuick.
Yeah, and here comes Brightside's Deadeye to provide some more zoning tools, up to 50% now, and backing away. Now here comes the second wave of this fight. VanirQuick through main with that Sigma, that big tank looking to create a lot of space, takes a lot of damage in the meantime. It's going to go down. That's a massive fumble from VanirQuick. Your tank is going in to make space and you can't keep them alive, and now with that beat, as a follow-up, this time it's Young and Beautiful taking the fight to VanirQuick. They punish the simple mistake of letting your tank die. And with that, Young and Beautiful going to be 2-0 on Flashpoint unless there's a last-minute touch that I don't think is going to come through. I think, yeah, VanirQuick are just posturing for that third point, and that's unacceptable.
Yeah, Central Japan just kind of explodes. I really don't know what the plan was for VanirQuick there, if I'm being honest. I would like to try figure out what they're trying to do, but you have 3 ultimates. Just let one rip, honestly. Just base your fight around the Flux, base your fight around the Blizzard as well. VanirQuick getting a little bit unlucky with the point location there as well. It's going to be cliffside here. There are 3 ults still there for VanirQuick, so there is room to start this reverse sweep here on Zorabasa. But Zekin near the post saw the value we got last time, and the Santi Diva bomb available as well saw the value that got last time as well. So lots of tools for Young and Beautiful to keep the steamroll going.
Yeah, once again, the Sentry comes through, but the bomb is lovely to force him away from that healer and gets the remake as well. And Zekin's landed another pulse onto the Mitsuki, so Kale down to the Zekin pulse, and that's a brutal start for VanirQuick. Here comes Blizzard looking to turn the fight around, getting the freeze on the tank, and that DMEC does come through. The Flux is also invested, so they have invested a lot into this fight, but they know they have to win it, right? They have to... Okay, please kill Zekin. Please land this right click. Zekin's still alive. Okay, Elias is not a Mei player. Elias can't be a Mei player. I don't know what to say about that one. Just left click the Tracer, slows them down. I don't care if they blink away. That was unfortunate, and now Zekin's up to 50% of the second pulse bomb, and it builds so fast. Zoro almost getting caught out. That's up to 60%. Zekin just providing so much pressure onto their sideline. VanirQuick aren't comfortable and have no ults to play with for this next fight.
Speaking as a Mei player, it can be dead hard to hit a Tracer, I'll be real, but there's some tools to work with for Young and Beautiful. Have that Kitsune, and Tomex is 10% behind. Young and Beautiful can just play quick here with the Noon and with the Kitsune.
Oh dear. The Mei's gone down, maybe no cryo available. Hashimoto cycle, that's one with the headshot, and there's Santi onto Apan too, and this is going to flip the fight in really easy fashion. They only invested, I mean, it's the Rush, it's a big ultimate, but still with the pulse available, still have the Deadeye, which is actually a lovely ultimate into a Kitsune Rush. If you can keep the Cassidy alive, it can force him away from that ultimate. And I don't know, I feel bad about VanirQuick here. The Sigma comp's really not worked, and that's why we've switched over to Amalga, but Amalga to Diva is not the most fun to play into, so it feels like VanirQuick are a little bit out of options here. They've exhausted what they expected to work, and here comes the rush from Tomex. What we're going to see from the other side, there is that Deadeye. It connects onto Zoro, who's not aware of the sideline, and Kale's been forced off the map too by the boosters, I believe, and with that, it's going to be fight over, surely. Yep, that's Santi onto Tomex too. The Kiriko down, the Malga down. Young and Beautiful looking like a different team over here on Suravasa, and maybe it's VanirQuick who look like the most different team, as they have not found their footing at all in Flashpoint.
Yeah, that's the nature of Flashpoint, right? It can be so hard to get back when you're already down. And look how far up Young and Beautiful are playing, because they know they can. They have the beat as an assurance, and they want to delay the amount of time that VanirQuick actually have in this fight. All they have is the Satsuriku spree from Zoro, but the beat will deny it, and the remake from Santi just makes it so hard to break through Young and Beautiful this fight.
Yeah, if Elias goes down here, it's brutal as well, but they have the defense matrix, they have the beat, they're going to invest it early aggressively, so the spree could be big value. Zoro's found Zekin first, but Apan down initially to Brightside as a brutal fall. Here comes that spree, but
the matrix
up. Yeah, I mean, what can you do, right? That's the most brutal thing to feel when you're playing against a Diva. Your ult comes through and they block every single part of that spree, and Brightside for 3 is going to close out Flashpoint in 3-0 fashion. And I wasn't really expecting to be here at a 2-1 scoreline. I wasn't expecting to believe in a Young and Beautiful reverse sweep. But VanirQuick looked completely out of sorts there.
Yeah, out of their depth and outclassed on that map, if I'm being honest. Not really much they could do whatsoever.
Oh, wow.
Looking at it, incredible performance by, I want to say one person, but honestly all of Young and Beautiful were really on their game there. You know, every single player had that highlight moment. Every single player really was popping off when they needed to. Brightside on that Cassidy was really outdoing Zoro on that hit scam roll, and we talked about, oh my goodness, the flex DPS for Young and Beautiful popping off Zek and outclassing Elias, forcing that Mei swap. The Mei swap didn't accomplish enough with what VanirQuick wanted to, and it did feel like One and FNM were just a step ahead of Tomex Tomix and Kale at the majority of the points. And I mean, Santi, again, exemplary stuff on that tank role, incredible work on that diva, showing the Zarya works, the diva works, and now you can't ban either. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Young and Beautiful, they have the tools to win this game. They've proven that they have the tools to win this game. They can beat that Mago comp, they can beat the Sig comp. Only thing that VanirQuick really didn't try there, which I maybe would have wanted to see, was that Ramatra from Central Apan.
Yeah.
Could have maybe went for that, but were they on Ramatra at the start? No, they were on Sigma.
No, I just feel like they didn't do anything like different.
Yeah,
I think they just lost. Like I don't know what to say about that. I switched to Malga right at the end, and then Elias was on Tracer, then back to May and Tracer. And the questions I ask really is, where's the Ramatra? Where's the potential Cassidy pick for Zoro? There's no way Zoro can't play Cassidy, who's been around for a decade, right? Like, when the Tracer on the other side is getting so much value, you can hinder them. When you can't find the shots on the Sojourn, and that's the thing with Sojourn, right? Sojourn's a floor seeding character, right? You either hit a beautiful shot, you get a huge value, or you're missing and you're like getting defense matrix and you can't quite find the angles. But Cassidy is much more consistent in terms of like just pumping out solid body shots, occasional headshots. That hinder is always going to be decent value. You have combat roll to keep yourself a little bit alive, and you have a little bit more tankiness. I feel like if you're not finding the value on that Sojourn and you're facing against a brutal Tracer, you can always switch to that safe option. I just felt like VanirQuick were a little bit too stubborn in the way they were playing that one, and I feel a little bit wary about the Circuit Royale pick. I'm not huge on it. I know it's completely different to Siravasa, but it feels to me like they really want to run Sigma again, and we saw how that just went.
I think running Sigma on this map, it is different, right? Because running Sigma on Siravasa is very different to running Sigma on Circuit Royale, right? But I think a big thing is that it allows a Sojourn pick more over the Cassidy, right? And the Cassidy ban there immediately, yeah, I kind of was about to say that, saw that coming. Brightside on that Cassidy was a real problem, right? Maybe this isn't necessary on a map like Circuit Royale because it's quite long range, but it's some kind of assurance, right? Maybe it is a little bit of a misstep though from
I don't like this. I think you're right about it being a great ban in a different context, but when you're facing up against a young and beautiful team who are hot off a brilliant 3-0 and looking to reverse sweep you, you need all your tools. You've already banned out the Diva, you've already banned out the Zarya, you've now banned out a Cass on a map that I don't think they were going to really be playing Cass anyway. It feels like Sojourn is better here. It feels like Freya is better here. It feels like even Ashe at times is better here. Cass is, it's not the best map for Cass. It's one of the few where he doesn't really feel like he has a range to play in. And Mizuki on the other side, it makes sense if you're playing counter dive, but it also makes sense, I guess, if you're expecting a Sigma. But this is, I mean, completely not what I was expecting, I have to say.
Given the composition that VanirQuick are on, though, it begins to make a little bit more sense, right? Cassidy into that Freya, it does feel a little bit hard as the Freya. Of course, now that Cassidy's 250 HP, it isn't as bad, but it still has that roll to mitigate the damage and that burst damage, just point and click, that Cassidy has onto Freya as a 225 HP character. It does feel quite oppressive, if I'm being honest, and Cass is just quite livable, well, that's not even a word, durable, compared to the Sojourn, right? Sojourn, of course, has that slide, but once you use that slide, she's super squishy, right? She's really, really killable. So I think the Cass ban makes a little bit more sense given the way that VanirQuick are probably going to play this with the Symmetra TP onto the hit scan, but honestly, I think the Cass ban is still a little bit wasted.
Yeah, but potentially paying dividends here with the comp they're running. It's a Ramatra mirror, which I really was not expecting to see, and it looks like they're going to run this corner, which is a great start for VanirQuick. It's the first corner you have to face, and they've done so in good stead. Here comes the Symmetra TPing forward as well. Elias putting on some pressure onto the high ground, so forcing away Young and Beautiful, and this Freya lands a bolt onto the Pharah, so once again forcing them around these corners, and that's a lovely, lovely nade from the Ramatra. It allows Brightside to land that headshot onto Zoro. And with that, they're going to be forced back for VanirQuick, and they've only really made it so far because Brightside's found 3.
Brightside is going absolutely ballistic right now, isn't he? Just
yeah, someone's
incredible.
locked in.
Yeah, he woken up as the hit scan of Young and Beautiful. Well, that first map was really, really strong for them as well on Antarctic Peninsula, despite how it ended up going for them. Only gotten better have the Young and Beautiful team so far this series. Now VanirQuick, they do still have a lot of time to work with them. Basically just under 3 minutes left on the clock. Kale coming up on that orbital ray much further ahead than FNN is, which is a big advantage for VanirQuick, but it is still even quite across the board.
Yeah, also Yerm's come in, interestingly, to play that Kiriko, maybe a slightly different pool as well as a flex option, but here comes the block from the Ramatra pressing forward. Is just Wait, this is Santi. Wow, I can't read. Right side though, finding Zoro once more, and this Sojourn, who really, I mean, they were decent on map 1. They didn't really exist on map 2, and then map 3, an absolute star of the show was Brightside, and clearly feeling all that heat now. So locked in. Another
Oof.
beautiful shot here onto Kale as well. Wowie, you cannot peek this. Sojourn, why ban out the Cassidy? Because all they're going to do is lock someone else and beam you down anyway. Elias is now blocked and is going to end up dying here, which feels very bad, unless they get the care they need.
That's the problem with
Okay,
banning
I
a
think the
hit
mate's
scan.
alive.
Hit scans
Yeah.
fundamentally are all quite similar, and a lot of them play in
Yeah.
a relatively similar way, right? If you play one hit scan, odds are you play at least 2 others. So that's why it always feels bad banning a hit scan. You want to ban to disable a comp, and cast, it doesn't
Yeah.
disable anything. Mizuki ban though does, and this Blizzard could disable, maybe break through Young and Beautiful.
Yeah, Santi finding the first once more, and it feels like every single time we see a rush mirror, it goes the way of Young and Beautiful. Central Lappan, though, looking to turn it around, taking down Brightside and Zekken too, so this from Archer pushing forward, slightly more comfortable potentially on this role than Santi is, but Santi is looking comfortable too here, punching forward onto Elias, forcing
Almost
the ult
as
out,
another
and
Annihilation.
actually close to a second one. Yeah, the Annihilation has been built up so fast, and with that Ray as well, the damage is going to be so high. Elias stuck in the corner. Oh my god, they've fallen. They've gone down. Appan gets the kill. And that's a huge find. That's sad. That's sad for Young and Beautiful. Zekken looking to find some final blows as they fall as well. But yeah, investing that Ray and the Annihilation too, you think, oh my god, they're flipping it. And then they die. So, never mind.
Yeah, Santi maybe getting a little bit too overzealous right there, walking into that room completely out of line of sight of our supports there. Just kite back a little bit, use the Ray, go in with that, and then if you need to Annihilation, then use the Annihilation. But
They
a
do
little
have...
bit over aggressive. But Young and Beautiful, they still do have 2 ults available, double DPS ult, and nothing in the pocket for VanirQuick. And only 39 seconds left on the clock. There's not much time left to go.
I mean, that was a bit of a fake barrage, but the overclock coming forward. Can it be kited? Elias avoiding that shot. It's keeping them alive here. But onto Zoro, that headshot's found. So low HP is the Sojourn, but now the ult's run out. And I don't know about this. Both DPS ults have been effectively wasted. VanirQuick come in with the Blizzard as well. They come in close to the Ray. They come in close to the Rush as well. They are ahead on the ult cycle. They're going to get this capture. Surely. That Suzu's lovely. Keeps Santi alive. But this shield is even better. There's Santi down. It blocks all that sight line. And that's going to be point captured. It's lovely work. It's a bit of a waste of a rush, in my opinion, but I mean, it gets them the point. So Zoro with 2, feeling comfortable now, feeling awake in this game, feeling like VanirQuick might be able to push even further.
Yeah, and that's great work from Elias right there. Drops that Blizzard, zones the point, right, so they can threaten to the C9 almost. They can threaten that capture. So a player has to jump on, but then they have to jump into the Blizzard. Or they can threaten the kill onto Santi. They end up killing Santi, then capping the point. Excellent work from Elias right there.
Yeah, I take it back. They might actually be a May player, but forcing that block forward. Here comes the overclock from Zoro. Takes a lot of damage, and that rush is going to be invested to force them even further back. These social ults from both sides have now been kited in wonderful fashion, but the Ray is invested now to turn it forwards. There's so much damage, though. That was, I mean, that was maybe a little bit of a risk, right? You're running forward into a rush. The Ray is not going to provide you enough sustain, and then Santi's going to invest that Annihilation and beam through the entire team. That is, I believe, the first team kill we've seen today. So a lovely 5 wipe with no one alive. And now VanirQuick have nothing to invest here, close to Annihilation. But Zoro's back on the Freya. Feels like they can't quite find themselves in this game.
Yeah, and I think that's just because Brightside has just been like having a spectacular couple of maps here. Almost has another overclock ready to go. Zekken coming up on a barrage as well. FNN has that orbital ray, but the Brightside overclock is used quite early, and it's kind of kited fairly well.
Yeah, lovely kiting once more from Nick. Oh dear, Zoro finds beautiful bolts onto Brightside, who looks for the blows but can't grab them. And here comes Annihilation forward. Here comes VanirQuick forward. Here comes Young and Beautiful backing away, forced away from Central Lappan. But there's Zoro with the bolt. There's Elias with the icicles, and that definitely May player, definitely a May player. I'm so sorry for what I said earlier. Beautiful shots there from Elias, and has the Blizzard available, and we can see an exact replication of the previous fight here. You can chuck that Blizzard on the cart when you're close to it. They have to contest really early, Young and Beautiful, if they want to avoid that, but they're looking like they're going to allow that sub 5 meter-ish to come through. Here we go. Actually, it's a lovely contest here, but the Blizzard, oh dear, the barrage, it's a 2016 barrage, gets blown up instantly, and Central Lappan onto Brightside is going to turn this fight once more. That rush comes through from Yoam, and that was, I mean, that was over before it really begun.
Yeah, the barrage, I think it's just a bit of a desperation barrage at that point. Realistically, you're not going to win that fight unless the barrage finds so many people, and you could try play it slow, but you don't really have the time to, right? The point is going, and like you say, the barrage, not the barrage, sorry, the Blizzard was there for Elias, so they know that the Blizzard is going to be there for Elias. They know what he's going to try to do to them again. and you just got to go for something. The barrage isn't great, but it's a risk you kind of have to take if you're in Young and Beautiful shoes.
But not.
And VanirQuick, they have 2 ults available now. Kale coming up on this orbital ray as well. It's dangerous stuff for Young and Beautiful at the moment.
It does feel though when you switch to the Diva, you have that defense matrix to protect your Pharah, but Brightside still alive here, still doing great work, and that's one onto Kiriko of Yoam too. So the substitute is down, and that's a second for one as well onto both supports now. And I mean, it's a good fight for Young and Beautiful. The time is relatively low for VanirQuick, but finding themselves as far forward as they are, considering how far back they were with low time, it's still feeling decent for VQ. Elias has had this Blizzard for a minute now, not needing to invest it prior, so not really a fault of theirs, more of a clean win out, and it enables an option into the opposing rush, enables an option into an Annihilation if they still have it for that one too. And on the other side, it feels like just the rush available for one.
Yeah, only one ult for Young and Beautiful right now. VanirQuick have a couple in the pocket. 30 seconds left on the clock though. Not much time for them to really get much done if they want a full cap.
It's a lovely Blizzard. The tank is frozen. Can they find it? No, actually just forced alive. Actually, that rush is nice because it keeps the tank alive. And now looks like Elias looking to find the Pharah, finds the first shot but can't quite find the follow-up. And there's Santi down though, very over-aggressive from the Ramatra. Finds himself in the back lines and down, and with the railgun not landing, it allows Zoro back in. There's a headshot found though, forcing that Sojourn away, but getting some more cart progress RVQ, and every meter counts here. That's FNN frozen out, but backs away, does that Juno, and now still alive is the Kiriko as well, so they're just playing safe and have the overclock to come through with Brightside. On the other side, there's a rush, there's an Annihilation, there's a potential win con for VQ here, but the barrage is close, and the rate is close, and there's no rate for VQ, so the ults are very contested. Both sides have a lot of potential win cons, and here comes the rush, the overclock into the face of that one, lands the first, but Santi's found Elias too, and there's the second for Santi as well. Zoro though onto second, but here comes Brightside with the overclock, can't quite land the final blows. Kill the Juno please, there we go, there's one, not gonna get the second, but the wick is burning down at 67.47 meters. It's second point for VanirQuick, but Young and Beautiful have given themselves a great win opportunity here for this map of Circuit Royale.
Yeah, and Brightside doesn't really even need to kill anyone with the overclock, right? They can kind of just stand in Kale's face and just gonna aura farm, right? Just push by that Juno, and when that Juno's out of the picture, a good bit of healing is gone. I mean, you see how much healing that Kale has done. He's actually done the most in the lobby on that Juno. 12,000 healing in 8 minutes is kind of ludicrous. The amount of healing these supporters are actually pumping out. But look at the damage as well. I mean, there needs to be a lot of healing if there's a lot. There needs to be a lot of damage if there's a lot.
Yeah, Santi with 13,000.
Incredible, yeah. But VanirQuick, good resilience there to get the car as far as they did. Ideally, you would have wanted to get it to the end, but after how turbulent that that first point was, I think making it this far, you can definitely be happy if you're VanirQuick. But now, Young and Beautiful, I imagine they're just maybe messing around. But if they're not, I'm very interested to see how this goes.
I mean, if you bring you can bring the Pharah rollout onto that height, you can bring the Bastion up there, and Brightside's been hitting every single shot. So the tracking, which is often more difficult when you're flying high in the sky, is going to be very doable for a DPS of that caliber. I think the ball is interesting. I think that might be a swap, but I mean, maybe the one issue with the Cat Bastion comps, right, is the other two players just kind of have to do whatever, and ball's very self-sustainable. So when you only have one support really caring after you, that's nice. But here, yeah, okay, so the Cat's taking the Bastion over to the high ground as expected. And I think it's not been spotted out yet. Maybe it has a little bit of damage coming through, but this is the fight that's important. That nade is lovely onto Zoro, but gets the care. And Brightside still not on that turret form. There we go, flying around the corner, but dropped off. So that was kind of, I mean, they get the kill, but I'm a bit disappointed with it, actually. I mean, I was excited to see what happens. Brightside's just going to beam down too anyway, though. The Bastion aim is perfect. The kills come through. Zoro on the cart does trade it out, and Kale's taking down one. So VanirQuick is still in this fight, despite the fact they're down the tank, because the Mauga is not following up onto anything. Yoam's still contesting this cart as well, and I feel like at some point you back away with your VQ, but they're just not going to do so, and Kale's going to fall in the end. Now it's the kite from Zoro, stays alive, and they contest the cart for like 10 seconds, but I felt like they could have stayed alive there.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, only one went down, though. Only Kale went down, but would be ideal if Kale was here, because now BQ, they really have to play it a little bit slowly, but no ult's really coming. No one's really an outlier on their ult. Zoro is leading the pack right now at 60% to his overclock, and if you're VanirQuick, you just want to play it slow, farm up that overclock, and really just try to get the ball rolling with that, because there's not much that Young and Beautiful will be able to do versus it.
A Zarya swap is fascinating, keeps the Bastion alive in the height of the cat, and here comes that beam with the minigun. The nade doesn't land, but Zoro's tickled down low. Elias has switched off to the Bastion as well. It provides an opportunity, but Apan's been demech'd. Here comes a Zarya onto the backline. FNN has found the final onto the Diva, and it looks like, I don't know if this is mean, but it feels like VanirQuick don't have ideas of their own. Like, the swaps they're making feel like renditions of what Young and Beautiful were running earlier or running in the moment. They are, yeah, now we're switching off to a Ramatra too, and that makes sense to me, but why go the Diva in the first place? It feels like they have been so unsettled by what happened on Saravasa, and now the recontest comes through. It has to be well done, but we have the catnap. That's a overclock for Zoro, forces Sebastian away, but they're just going to kite this in quick fashion. Here comes that TP, but yeah, they're just going to focus on that one, and Zoro can't quite find the final blows. Here comes the Bastion ult, looks to find one. There's a Suzu forced out, and it's damage, it's potential, it's a catnap available, takes down the tank, goodbye, but low HP, and forces FNN away. The rush has come through, it's mirrored on both sides, and now the Ray has come through from Kayle, so it's advantage once more VQ, but look at this kite. There's Kayle though onto the tank of Santi, so that's going to be finally a clean win for VanirQuick, but they've invested so much into it.
Yeah, not cheap whatsoever. Double support ult is not what you want to be spending, right? Sure, one does use that Kitsune, sure, the artillery strike is committed from Brightside, but to be honest, I'm taking that trade every single day of the week if I'm Young and Beautiful. But the time is ticking for Young and Beautiful. I've said that phrase so many times, oh my goodness, it's insane. The time is ticking, only 1 minute left on the clock right now. And VanirQuick, they can build a few other ults. Zoro can get another ult online. Elias will build that symbol. Central Apan will build that Annihilation. The question is how much work can Zekken and Santi do with their ults?
Yeah, this Cat Bastion feels more like a gimmick than a meta in this day and age, and it's not worked out. Yeah, a Zekken spree does find one, but Zoro with a crucial shot. That rail finds the Xion and prevents any further damage coming through. That bubble's nice onto the Bastion. A high charge now on the Zarya, and the Annihilation has been kited in wonderful fashion, but so far away from lots of those ults. Here comes the Catnap back inside. Here comes the Bastion on, back inside. The artillery strike looks to land on one, but Zoro's overclock finds FNN on the catnap, looking for the Bastion too, and there it is. I think we have found our map winner. That's a lovely headshot found. Actually, no, Santi's traded out Kayle too, so Elias with a crucial pick onto the Zarya, keeping the team ahead of this one, and Young and Beautiful now, with only 15 seconds, have to get a touch.
They need to survive, though. That's the main objective. Santi swapping over to that Maga. One so close to that Kitsune. There will be a Kitsune advantage for Young and Beautiful here. Sure, Elias has that sim wall, but honestly, ults are really even right now. Yoham's done a great job of trying to make up the difference.
Yeah, it takes a bite to the face, but now has that rush to invest. Here comes the mirror, here comes the fight. The beam is high for the Symmetra, sorry, and it does so much damage. Maga forcing the backline, but here's Apan on the other side, pressuring high. FNN takes a lot of damage and actually finds the first onto Kayle. That's a big pick, but Central Apan trades out onto Zekken, so DPS down for support. And here comes the beam of the Symmetra, keeping back and forth, creating themselves a difficult target to hit. The Symmetra, the Sojourn can't find that shot onto the Symmetra, looks to take on that high ground, looks to provide highlight pressure from Brightside, who was so good earlier in this map, but can't quite find it on the attack side. Now forced to back away, but the Maga is staying alive on the cart. The overtime wick is still healthy and burning. Here comes Apan onto the Sojourn, looking to prevent that high ground damage. The pummels come through, but they don't quite land. The support's lovely, and actually it's Maga onto Elias. They're gonna win out this fight in the end. Brightside is taking on Yoam 2, and the Annihilation is too little, too late. Can't be invested to keep them alive in this one, but Zoro with 2. Oh my goodness, what is going on? There's still the Maga alive, still the Kyrie alive. The support is still here, but the Rays come through, and Kale's down in the end, and that's so unfortunate because you feel like when Zoro grabs the 2K, Kayle can flip it with the Ray, but one with the headshots. And they're alive. I don't know how.
I don't know why Central Apan has not pressed Q there. I mean, sure, the benefit of hindsight, you don't know that your Sojourn's going to get 2 kills there, but you have the Orbital Ray. You can still win it. You may as well try. Like, I don't see why you wouldn't, because you're just going to ult now. I guess there's the cage fight, but you're probably just going to explode, right? I don't know. I feel like it's a missed trick there from Central Apan.
Yeah, also, the thing they've been doing so well is kiting these ults, and now Annihilation once more doesn't get any value. FNN is so low, though, and that's the value, finally. But, I mean, it's traded out instantly. The Maga with the cage fight takes down Elias, low HP, though, and that's Zoro with a lovely headshot. And now I believe we have the opposite Sojourn in the game. Zoro finds 2, Zoro finds 3, and I'm excited to see what we get from this overclock. Now 99 pushing to 100. It's going to be mirrored from Brightside too, and in that rush can do more damage, but if Johan can build his up with only 18 to go, we could be seeing a very exciting upcoming fight.
Yeah, but this Satsuruku spree from Zekken is going to cause a lot of problems, I reckon. Ult advantage for Young and Beautiful right now, 120 seconds left on the clock. Going to imagine that the upcoming fight that Kayle is going to get his Orbital Ray online, which is something that you really should be scared of in the next
Here's
fight.
the
And
overclock.
whoa, overclock. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Zoro for one, and Zapan's taken down the Spree. Zekken can't invest it in time, and I mean, it's only £1 for Zoro, but that's just won the fight for VanirQuick. And now, despite big ult advantage for Young and Beautiful, they're on 2 close to 3. The rush is still available for VanirQuick. That provides some sustain, and if Kale can get the healing through, they could potentially get onto a second. That's a lot of damage. That TP is lovely, but Apan's not going to get inside it. Has to pop the Nemesis just to survive here, and it's a double rush simultaneous. The overclock from Brightside is out of the fight, away from it, but Yoam's down, and that's huge from Santi. There's the Spree onto 1. It's going to do a lot of damage, and that's Brightside with the final blow. Santi onto Kale too, and there's going to be a 1-out fight for Young and Beautiful, but they have invested everything they had. They're close to the annihilation, but that's about it.
Yeah, not cheap at all for Young and Beautiful. That's Riku's Spree, that overclock, and that kid's so all burned. But like you said, the annihilation is close for Santi, but looking at the other side, annihilation is pretty much there for Central Apan, as well as Kale's Orbital Ray, which is a lot closer than FNN's, as well as Elias's Sim Wall coming up.
Yeah, that's Suzu blocked all that damage, but Kale down early. Here's the annihilation from Apan, takes down Brightside, but on the other side, there's Santi's as well, and it's looking like a... I mean, I'm very underwhelmed by this fight, because I believe we were on for something good, but in the end, Young and Beautiful just dominate it entirely, get to that annihilation in time, and despite the Suzu blocking out that bike damage, losing Kale prevented so much healing potential for VanirQuick, and they just get snowballed.
Yeah, I mean, that pick from FNN with the Pulsar Torpedoes there was absolutely incredible. Onto his opposite number. Shuts down basically the only ult that VanirQuick currently have in their pocket. Elias coming up on that photon barrier, going to be something strong for Young and Beautiful to contend with. Might just try to use it into the orbital ray, or they could just mirror the orbital ray, see how that goes. But Zoro does have an overclock on the way, quite far ahead of Brightside as well. So in this approaching that final fight kind of scenario, if VanirQuick drag this out, I could see them winning this quite confidently.
Yeah, have that barrier just to play around it. It provides a whole new ball game, cuts that point in half, and here comes the race, here comes the rushes, so it's going to be expensive for VQ, but Apan's going to punch away the opposing number, and that's going to be an instant win. If they can kite this out further and snowball and stagger, that'd be lovely, but I think that's going to be survival for 3 players of Young and Beautiful, keeping themselves alive in this one. The pressure's still high from VQ. They're playing forward because they know the opposition have to get on the cart sooner rather than later, and no back caps available with that Symmetra TP as well. The fight is ongoing, the fight is continuous. Here's Santi pushing forward with the punches. Nemesis form invested and has to block away to Zapan, but look how low HP Santi is. And here comes the overclock. Oh, what a shot from Zoro. Oh, Zoro's found 1 and Apan's found the follow-up. Zoro for 2. That's going to be 3. That's going to be Sojourn closing it out. That's going to be Vanirquick closing out 3-1. And credit to Young and Beautiful. A great performance on Suravasa, a solid showing on Circuit Royale, but in the end, the favorites are favorites for a reason. VQ find those final blows, find those crucial picks, and find the series.
Yeah, 3-1 VanirQuick. And I think that stumble on Suravasa did prove that there are some chinks in the armor, I suppose, for VanirQuick. But good showing from Young and Beautiful, to be honest, I would say. The Suravasa performance was very good. The Runasapi as well was very solid from Young and Beautiful as well. They had the lead for the majority of it, and that Circuit Royale was honestly quite a close game. We get a quick look at the scores. 2-0 Antarctic Peninsula. That map was a bit of a stomp. Runasapi, of course, it's going to be 1-0, but it was quite close. Suravasa stomp in the favor of Young and Beautiful, and Circuit Royale, of course, very close at the end. But I don't think it's really over at all for Young and Beautiful. They did manage to get a map out of that, which is important. This map differential could be the difference maker, especially as they are, I believe, 8th place at the moment, so they are at that cutoff to make it into playoffs. Of course, I believe they'll have to go against Team Peps, which is terrifying, but you want to make it to playoffs regardless. But VanirQuick, they're approaching that 2nd place. I think they just need 1 more win to guarantee 2nd now, and that's maybe it's a little bit of a stumbling step, but it's a step forward nonetheless for VQ.
Yeah, following up here, VQ have Vertex and then GT3. Vertex also pushing for those playoff positions. They'll be the ones mainly contesting Young and Beautiful here. So VQ could be the ones to defeat Young and Beautiful and then give them the spot in playoffs in the end. So it's a relatively, I don't want to say easy road ahead because GT3 are also sitting very high up. But Vertex should be a win for VQ. They should be getting top 2 over good guys with the map differential. It really depends how things go, but it wasn't clean, right? That Runasapi was exceptionally close. That Suravasa was not even close in the other way. And here on circuit, it also could have gone both ways. It felt like both teams could have lost on first point, to be honest, and then managed to pull some miracles out and make it all the way to third. And it was only, I believe, 4 meters to go. I know they were allowing some time to get the contest in, but still a close affair here. So VQ looking to clean things up as they head towards the final few rounds of the stage, and of course pushing into playoffs. But I believe that is us good for this stream today. So credit to our wonderful backroom staff, our production team. We got the wonderful, the well-known, the lead producer Lowell. It was myself, Sam, and the beautiful Sky Knight on the mic, and observing was Bert. And of course, all credit to Respawn for providing this wonderful broadcast crew, this wonderful stream for this wonderful team, VanirQuick, pushing towards playoffs in the FACEIT Masters League Season 7. That's all for us today. Goodbye.